Hey everyone, so in today's video I'm going to be showing you how to make a book cover in GIMP. So when you open up GIMP, this is what it should look like. There should be two menus on each side of the page. So the first thing I'm going to do is make a new canvas, and you can do that by pressing Ctrl N. So when you do that, this little menu should pop up, and what I'm going to do is change this to inches and then make the width 5.5 and the height 8.5. You can do whatever dimensions you want, but this is usually the size I get my books printed out in. And then what you want to do is click Advanced Options. If it's only at 72 pixels per inch, it's not going to print out high quality, and this was a lesson I only recently learned. All of the covers I made in GIMP, I never changed the resolution on, and it's only when I got Photoshop last year that I actually figured out why resolution is so important. So you want to change that to 300. This one should change automatically, and then just press OK. So then this blank image is going to pop up. What I'm going to do is, I'm really sorry, some of my screen is cut off because my screen recorder interferes with GIMP in allowing to move around layers. So I'm going to go to File, Open as Layers, and I know you can't really see that. The shortcut is Ctrl-Alt-O, which I often use. So what I'm going to do is just click on this folder here, and I'm going to go into Pictures, and then I'm going to click on the folder of stock photos, and I'm going to input yellow door. As you can see, it's way too big for the page, so to fix that, I'm going to click on this tool right here, which is the scale tool. If you just click on the image, this should show up. So first I'm going to zoom out so I have a little bit of an easier time doing this, and the shortcut is just a subtract sign. Holding down Control, I'm going to take one of these corners and drag it in. If you don't do that, this is what's going to happen. So you click on it, and then if you don't click Control, see, it's just distorting, and that's not what you want. So what you want to do is press Control, and then it won't distort your picture at all. So then I'm just going to press the Move tool, which is this little arrow thingy over here, and I think I just scaled this a little bit too big, so I'm going to grab the scale tool again and just scale it much smaller. Perfect. So now that we have something like this, I'm going to zoom up a little bit, and the shortcut for that is Shift+. So I'm not going to do any editing to this photo because I didn't do it for the original cover since this was just a test cover, but you can go ahead and edit the photo by using some of the adjustment layers. If you go into color, you can press brightness and contrast, you can make it darker, you can make it with more contrast, less contrast, but I'm not going to cover that in today's video. I could show you how I edit photos in GIMP. I haven't done so in quite a while, but I wouldn't mind if you guys have questions on that. But for now, I'm just going to focus on this cover. So the first thing I'm going to do is remove this little 200 here. I don't want that on the cover because it's very distracting. So it's actually pretty easy to remove. What I'm going to do is just zoom up to it. So then I'm going to grab the stamp tool, which is this little tool right here, right next to the healing tool. The shortcut is C. So what I'm going to do is make this a little bit bigger with the closed square bracket. Press Control on your computer, then click on the spot that you want to sample, and as you can see, it just left a little circle there. When I click on here, it's going to paste what I just sampled, so it'll be easier if I show you here. I'm going to click on this little center guy here, like with a window, Control click on that, and then like paste it over here. As you can see, it copied exactly what I clicked on. So to undo, by the way, I'm pressing Control Z, and to redo you can press Control Y. That's basically how the stamp tool works. It's basically exactly like Photoshop. So press Control first on your computer, click on the area you want to sample, and then paste on the area you want to cover up. So it's pretty easy to actually do this, but my biggest suggestion is just to sample from multiple different areas so it doesn't look like really patchy, because the stamp tool has a tendency to look a little bit patchy if you use it incorrectly. So I've gone ahead and just removed that 200, and if I zoom out, you can see it's completely gone. But what I'm going to do to actually enhance this is sample a piece from over here and then paste it on here, and I'll show you exactly how I'm going to do that. So first I'm just going to move this up because it's kind of taking up a lot of space, and I want to even out the top and bottom a little bit. That's pretty good. You can also use the arrow keys to do this on your keyboard. So then I'm going to grab the rectangle select tool, and then I'm just going to sample this left side of the photograph. By the way, this picture is a stock image that I got from Unsplash, I think. If I can find the photographer's name who took this, I'll leave it in the description box, but it is a free stock photo if you are wondering. So I'm just going to draw a little rectangle on this side. And look, it's selected. As you can see, the dotted line is sort of moving, and I'm going to press Ctrl C to copy it, and then press Ctrl V to paste it. And as you can see, it just has this floating selection thingy, and if you right click and press to new layer, you're going to paste what you just took from this photo onto a new layer. So you can't see it because it's in the same spot, but if I move it over here, as you can see, I just copied what was over here. So now I'm going to take the rotation tool, and I'm going to click on this, and I'm just going to rotate this 90 degrees, like so, just to make it completely horizontal, and then press rotate. And then if I bring this over here, what I can do is I can paste it onto what I just stamp tooled over, just so it can get a bit more of a realistic looking texture. So if I click on the yellow door layer, as you can see, this is what I got, and it kind of looks a little strange. You're like, wait, why is there just this harsh line? So I'm going to zoom up for you. So basically, to fix this, I'm going to click on the layer, and I'm selecting it right now, as you can see, and grab the eraser tool, and in your tool options little dialog, which is over here, make sure that your brush is set to the softest one you can find, which is this one. And I'm going to make the eraser quite big. Again, the shortcut for that on your keyboard to make it bigger is the closed square bracket. And then I'm just going to erase the edges of this just to make it look a little bit more realistic, per se. And erase the edges like that. So now we have something that looks like this. So it still looks a little bit weird. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to click on this pasted layer and literally just bump down the opacity by quite a bit. I kind of like where I put it. I think that looks pretty good. And this is just attention to detail at this point. People aren't really going to go up to your cover and like scour to see if, oh my gosh, did she stamp tool that out? Like, people are probably not going to notice it, but it's just something that I wanted to add in just so you can see a little bit more of the texture. So now that that's done, I'm going to merge these two layers. And let me just move this up a little bit so it fills most of the frame. And that's perfect. So now I'm actually just going to start adding in all of the overlays that are actually on the final cover. So what I did for these overlays was, so I'm going to open one of them. Just by pressing Ctrl O, you can open a new picture. So I've just opened this up into a little new thing, a little new window, and as you can see, it's just a picture. So basically what I did is I just hand lettered the title, and if you're scared of hand lettering and you're like, oh my gosh, no, I can't hand letter, don't fear, this is literally just my handwriting. Or you can find a font, but I find hand lettering looks really great. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make an overlay out of this. So I just took a picture of this paper and on my phone, but if you're printing this out, it's not going to be super high resolution, so I'd highly recommend taking it on like a digital camera or a DSLR or scanning it in. So to make an overlay, I'm going to grab the crop tool, which is this little X-Acto knife over here, and I'm just going to crop this picture as best as I can, exactly like that. So then I'm going to go to colors, and then I'm going to click invert, and that just inverts the colors. Then go colors, desaturate, and just press OK. And now that this is all set up, we can start toggling with things. So then in the brightness and contrast panel, which I got just by going colors, brightness, and contrast, I'm going to lower the brightness and up the contrast. So basically what I just did was I tried to, as you can see, that's the preview, I made the background completely black and the lettering completely white. So that's what it looks like. I'm just going to press OK on that and then do it just one more time just to make sure the background is completely black, just so the next part is a little bit easier on me. Then now, as you can see, now that everything's prepared, I'm just going to go to colors and color to alpha. Photoshop does not have this feature, which is why I always still use GIMP, even though I do have Photoshop now. So I'm going to just click this little box. As you can see, it's white, but I want to remove the black. So if you click on this little white band down here and change the color to black, the little preview, as you can see, it'll show you that it removed the black background. Press OK, and the entire background is gone. Very easy. So then what I'm going to do here is make sure this layer is selected and press Ctrl+C, which will copy it. If you don't know these shortcuts, you can also go into Edit, Copy, Cut, Paste. There's all of the stuff there if you don't know the shortcuts, but they're pretty easy to remember. Then I'm going to go back into the cover and then press Ctrl+V, which is paste. And as you can see, it's a floating layer, so I'm going to right click and press to new layer. And that's basically the title, and as you can see, the whole thing just moved, and I didn't know how to fix this problem when I first started working in GIMP, but all you have to do is go to Tool Options and then click Move the Active Layer. So this will move the layer that you have selected. So I'm just going to pop that into place, and then I'm just going to put the rest of the elements on my book cover, and it's just basically to make the overlay. It's the same method, so I'm not going to show you again. So I'm going to just import the other overlay I have directly into this canvas, and to do that, I'm just going to press Ctrl-Alt-O, which will open as layer. So I just opened this little overlay of these three little stick people, and I just placed that right onto the book cover. So the next thing I'm going to do is input the a novel thing at the top and her full name. I'm not Sarah Lodge-Fencing, by the way, that's my twin sister, but like I mentioned at the beginning, this is her novel, so I just made a bit of a cover for her. So I'm just going to write her name and a novel. So first I'm just going to write a novel. And the font I'm using is Frusciant Hand. I don't know how to pronounce it, but yeah, and I'm going to just change the size to like size 60 and make it white. And you can do that by clicking this little box right here and toggling it all the way to the white section. As you can see, you can't see it, and that's because like where did all that text that I just wrote go? It's because this layer is actually hiding underneath the cover image that I've chosen to use. So I'm just going to move this layer up here. So as you can see, I just moved it up, and I'm realizing size 60 is way too small, so I'm going to change it to size 100 or something like that. Yep, that's perfect. So then I'm just gonna make this text box smaller so I'm not dragging around like a huge text box. And then in Tool Options, I'm going to add a little bit of spacing in between the letters just to match the aesthetic of the handwritten title. So to do that, you want to click this little thing right here that I'm underlining, and it's gonna have a line underneath it and then B, and that's just going to change the spacing in between your letters, and I'm going to change this to 15. Or so. As you can see, that spaced out the lettering a little bit. I'm just going to zoom up so that I can place it on the canvas. Just going to pop it right here, like in the middle. That looks fine to me. I'm going to zoom out, and then I'm going to do the same thing for her name. So I'm just going to write her name. Because we already set this up for the previous text, as you can see, the lettering is actually already automatically spaced out at 15. So I don't really have to do any other work here. I'm just going to place this where I want it on the cover. I think that looks really good. So I'm just going to change the size of the novel at the top because I think it's a little bit too big. So the shortcut to get to the text tool is T. I'm just going to click on that text, then change it to like 70. And I already like that much better. So I'm going to just zoom in so I can see what I'm doing, and then move this just so it's in line with the little window of this door. Perfect. So I really like that. Just one thing is bothering me. I think the top of this picture is a little bit too heavy. It's like way too top heavy. So I'm just going to move this picture up with the move tool. I like that a lot better. Most of cover design, honestly, what you'll learn is that it's just tweaking small things. all the time. That's just graphic design in general. You want to build up instead of doing so many huge things. Sometimes building up smaller things is what gives you the best result. The cover is basically almost done. I only have one problem, and it's that the little E in stick people is cut off by this door handle, and it doesn't look too cute. So I'm going to actually move that, and I'll show you how to do that. First of all, I'm going to separate stick and people. And I'm going to do that by grabbing this little tool here. It looks like a little lasso. It's the free select tool. And I'm going to draw around the word stick. As you can see, it's selected. I'm going to press Control C, which is going to copy everything in that selection. So I'm just going to press Control C and then press the delete key, which is going to delete that little stick thing, and then press Control V because I'd already copied the pixels. So what that did is, as you can see, it pasted this little thing over here. It pasted the word stick onto a new layer. So I'm just going to right click, press to new layer, and rename this stick. And then people is going to be on its own layer. Over here, I'm just going to rename this layer people. So I'm going to move stick over to the right because it's not really centered. And then I'm going to move people up a little bit, and I'm doing that by just clicking on the layer and then clicking on the little thing I wanted to move and then using the arrow keys. Perfect. So now that that's done, as you can see, the E is still not doing so well. So I'm going to actually fix that by taking the same free select tool and selecting around the E. And then I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to press Control C, the delete key, and then Control V, which is going to paste the E onto a new layer. I'm just going to call it E. And now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to move it up, and it's a little bit too big. So I'm going to grab the scale tool again and pressing Control, shrink it down a little bit. Like that. I like that. I think that looks pretty good, but I think I need to move the title up a little bit. So I'm going to click on stick. I'm just going to shove this all the way up here and then move people. And then we can move the E as much as we want, basically. I'm just then going to click on the E layer, then click on the E so I can use my arrow keys. And then I'm just going to position the E where I want it, which I think that looks pretty good. Zoom out to get a better look, and I think this looks really good. So then I'm going to work on this little stick people thing, and I like the size of them, so I don't think I need to change them, but one of these guys is a little too tall and kind of looks a little strange, so I'm just going to move him down a little bit. And the same rules apply here. I'm just going to select around him with the free select tool, and then I'm going to press Control C, delete, Control V, which will paste this new guy onto a layer. I'm going to right click, to new layer so it's not floating, and then rename it man. Then what we can do is press the move tool, make sure this layer is selected, and as you can see there's a little yellow dotted line. Click on that, and now I can use my arrow keys to move him down, just so he's on the same plane as the other ones and isn't just flying in the air next to them. What I'm going to do is I'm going to move this back down to the other stick people, and I'm just going to merge the layers back down together so that I can move them together. So to merge, I'm just going to right click and press merge down, which is right here, and that's going to merge these layers together. And I'm going to do the same thing for the stick people overlay. Since it's 3 elements, I'm going to just do this twice. Right click, merge down, right click, merge down again, and then everything is on one layer. So basically we're almost done here. I know I did mention that I didn't want these guys to change in size, but I think they're too small, so I'm gonna make them a little bit bigger. So that's basically it. I'm just going to do some final touches. For now, that's pretty much it, and that's how you make a cover like this in GIMP. I hope this was helpful. If you guys are absolute beginners at this, I would highly recommend just starting to get familiar with all of the tools, but I hope this video just shows you that you don't need Photoshop to make awesome things. and you can totally use whatever you have. GIMP is a completely free program, which I don't think I mentioned before. So I hope this was helpful. I hope you guys enjoyed watching. I know it was a bit of a long one, but I hope that it helped in some way. If you have any more questions, feel free to ask below or send me an ask on my Tumblr inbox. But that's it for now. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!
Saint Christopher, to find your sister. She ran out.